What's up, felons? Today I'm here with the top 3 gayest things I ever saw in prison. And yeah, this list is obviously kind of a joke. Number 1 is not 2 dudes doing it. Anyways, before I get into that, I would like to say thank you so much for all the wonderful feedback and new signups on my website, StraightFelon.com, after my last video about Donnie the prison punk. Puppy, stop licking. As you can see, I got a new addition to the family. This is Cover Girl. You can see probably why we call her that. Ruby is getting very big. These guys require a lot of puppy chow. So if you can, please check out my website or my Cashapp. $StraightFelon and StraightFelon.com. Now let's get started with number 3. So my buddy Gay Mike that I've talked about in a lot of my earlier videos, the way he initially expressed interest, Ruby, get away from that, to his boyfriend was via passing a note. And as funny as that sounds, there is kind of a dynamic in prison usually when it comes to those hookups of kind of trying to feel the person out and see if they're interested. Now, I did ask Gay Mike, and he did not put a circle yes or no, like, do you like me? Will you go to the prison dance with me type deal. He actually wrote it pretty adult and mature from what I understand. Because it's typically this dynamic where, you have like a sissy or a punk who is very obviously openly gay and probably the bottom or on like the receiving end, however you want to look at it. And then the other guy is probably more on the down low, unless, like I've talked about before, unless he's just that bad of a dude that he doesn't care. So usually if, a lot of times people might be batting eyes at each other. Not too many guys are like super open about their attraction to sissies. So the way that Gay Mike had told it was he noticed this guy tweak, kind of not making eyes like fluttering eyes at him, but kind of locking eyes a little bit longer than normal, especially for an environment like prison. And I know Gay Mike, he's a pretty self-aware guy. Like, he's not stupid. He's not going to pass a note to somebody he doesn't, have a real, good feeling that it's probably going to work out for. Because people will get angry about that in prison, man. It's like the same white trash thing that we hear all the time. Like, oh, I don't really mind gay people as long as they don't hit on me. So, people do get angry about that. Guys, stop fighting. Number 2, modifying the prison clothing. So when you go to prison, man, it's just like you see on the movies in terms of like the sissies making makeup out of Skittles and kind of modifying their clothes to be more lewd. I saw everything but like the mop head wig. And this is a funny story for you. So literally when I first got to prison, first time walking on the yard, keep in mind, I had been slammed down in the county and then quarantine, not leaving a cell for like almost 2 months straight prior to this. So I'm walking around the yard outside in freedom. Well, caged freedom is like a coming to God moment. Oh, it's like I'm elated. Like for the first time in months, I'm like in a great mood. And I'm, practically walking on air and I'm heading up to my unit. And the units have these windows where you can kind of see into the cube. But the window goes about yay high, maybe up to the bottom of their neck. And through that window, I see a pair of MDOC blues around chest level, except they're unbuttoned down and there's like a bit of a rack. And there's so many thoughts going around my mind at the moment. I don't even put it together. I remember I literally thought, damn, they got bitches in here? And I kept walking and I go into the unit and I'm still thinking about it, but I go up to the officer and I ask, where my bunk is. He tells me A54. And as I'm walking down that hallway, I'm rubbernecking to try to see who that was. And of course, it was just like a kind of a chubbier sissy, not even with like breast surgery, that, you know what I mean? But that had modified the clothes. And I just had such a grin on my face from laughing, and they looked back at me and I was like, no, not like that. You know what I mean? But no, that is not the example. So there was this sissy trans woman, I don't know exactly how they define themselves, especially back then, named Savannah, who had fully modified her MDOC blues to like contour to her body shape. And keep in mind, you ain't got no sewing machine in there. You have like you're the little hand thing, you know, like the toothpick looking thing. So she must have done that all by hand, and you would swear it would burst open, but it was like a piece of craftsmanship. It was impressive. But it wasn't that either. No, the gayest modification I saw was a straight dude, probably a black dude in his mid 30s, Muslim guy, I think, who had taken his MDOC button down, and you've seen prison clothes. They're typically very loose. And he had modified just the biceps to be skin tight, but he had got the measurements so precise that he could wear it when he worked out, which, yes, he would wear a button down shirt while working out. And, you know, when he was doing dips or whatever, his arms could get a pump, and that fabric would stretch just enough so it wouldn't pop, because it would be stretched as tight as just enough. And, you know, and when he just walked around regular, it was still so tight. The bicep to the end of the shirt sleeve never moved on him. It didn't flow like a regular shirt. He just looked, I mean, it showed off his biceps, but other than that, it almost looked kind of medieval, like some Baldur's Gate type stuff. You know what I mean? So number one, and it's going to be a bit of a M. Night Shyamalan twist, is pedos, chomos getting off scotch-free. I've seen it happen before, and it grits my gears, man. That is the number one gayest thing I have seen in the correctional system. I'll just tell one story specifically. This would have been like January 2012, beginning of the year. I go to jail for a little bit, and I'm in the holding cell waiting to get in the back, and in comes this short little kind of mousy looking man with glasses, and he is holding a scroll of paperwork. I'm talking about a Stephen King book, like stack of paperwork. And I'm like literally befuddled because, you know, I remember the first time I got in trouble, I had like 14 felonies, and it was a pretty thick stack of paperwork. And this dude's is like, it seems to dwarf that. And I asked him, like, dude, what is it? You got the Dead Sea Scrolls there? What the hell is that? And he goes, they just charged me with 76 counts. And I didn't even have to ask him counts of what, just the way he talked and everything put it together. This dude's name was like Willie Forye. I wish I could spell it right. But he's not in any system because he got away with the shit. So I end up going to the back and serving, I think it was like a month and a half. And lo and behold, here comes Willie Forye right behind me. And he had gotten charged with, it was 75 or so counts of CSC, criminal sexual conduct. I want to say they were like third or fourth degrees, which that's, you know, I don't know the technicalities, but I know like first degree is penetration, second degree is, you know, whatever. And the fact he had been charged 76 times tells me two things. For one, the county's definitely overcharging him. But two, there ain't no way he didn't do at least a little bit of it, you know? And this jail we were in was not a hardcore facility. Everybody thinks that, like, if you have a sex offense and you go to jail, prison, it's just an automatic death sentence. You would not believe how many soft-ass facilities there were there. And he was just in the dorm with us, and we would mess with him, and we would kind of goad him into talking about the case. Because, you know, obviously those guys, they aren't too keen to talk about it other than, you know, deny that they did it and say they're innocent. But this dude was a trip. We was something else. So his victim was his girlfriend's daughter, which is typical, man. It's never stranger danger. It's always the stepdad or the mom's boyfriend. So he would talk about and by the way, the daughter was like 15. It wasn't like a child. But I remember the thing that really stuck out was he said that he had bought her a vibrator. Now, he denied ever touching her or doing anything, but once we were like, when he said he did that, and then he started like talking about how he'd walk by and he'd hear, "Rrr, rrr, rrr," and just the way he was pantomiming it and saying like, yeah, it sounded like a lawnmower in there. Then I was like, oh yeah, this dude, if he didn't do it, he definitely wanted to. And either way, they should lock him up and throw away the key. And just judging by how open this dude was about, like, did you just know, you know how it is. You aren't supposed to talk about, even if that was true, you shouldn't say stuff like that. You're supposed to, you know what I mean? So for him to think that was okay, definitely, dude, up against a wall. So also consider with the fact he had 75 or so counts against him, I figured they were going to bury this guy underneath the prison. Later in the year, lo and behold, I find myself back in county jail, this time awaiting prison. And when I'm in there, there's a bunch of guys who never got out. They've been there the whole time. So I asked them, I said, hey, what happened to old Willie Forye? How much time did he get? And he didn't get any time. They let him out. I never got the exact details. I would guess maybe the fact they charged him 75 times. That's just so above and beyond. Maybe they went overboard and then they had to take it back. I don't know. But I had never been so convinced of a person's guilt before, man. And I've seen it all. Usually the thing is they'll give those guys really sweet deals. Like I was in prison doing 2 years. And I would see guys who were doing the same or less time who did some real heinous stuff. And it's crazy to think, you know, you'll be sitting at a table and it's like, you know, I had possession. This dude broke into a car. This guy stole a TV from Walmart. And we all got 2 or 3 years. And then here walks by a literal vampire who took a child's innocence with the same punishment as us. And he actually has a better chance of getting parole. And that is the gayest shit ever. And that's exactly why people tune those guys up, because the punishment, the actual time, the years they get is not a deterrent. It's how hard we as prisoners made that time. You know, that's what deters a lot of them from offending. They aren't like, oh no, I'll have to do a year and a half behind bars and then a year of probation. No, they're afraid that they'll have to do a year and a half behind bars as a sex offender. They know what that means. So, you know, I'm not exactly saying vigilante justice is good, but in this case, it serves a purpose. Anyways, that's all. Say goodnight, Ruby. As always, please like and subscribe and check out my website, straightfelon.com, for all new videos. A menage a trois as of last week has been posted. See you next time.